Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to crack the code on something that's, a really subtle but super important part of mastering English: politeness. We're going to look at how to take language that might feel a bit too direct and turn it into communication that's not just clear, but really effective and helps you build great connections. I mean, it's a super common worry, isn't it? You know your grammar is spot on, but you just can't shake that feeling that maybe you sound a little too strong, a little too direct. Well, the good news is, it's usually not about you or your personality. It's just about a few little language habits that are actually pretty easy to change once you see them. Let's look at a classic example. And this slide just shows it perfectly. Look on the left, give me the file. Grammatically, it's fine. But wow, it lands like a command, right? Now look over to the right. A few simple words totally change the vibe. It goes from an order to a really respectful request. And that's it. This is the kind of tiny shift that makes a huge, huge difference in your conversations. Okay, so let's dive into one of the most common situations we all face: just asking for something. The goal here is really simple. We want to make a request, not a demand. Here is such a classic example. You probably learned this in a classroom. We all learn the word repeat. But in a real live conversation, it can sound surprisingly harsh, almost like you're barking an order. The alternative on the right, "Sorry, could you say that again?" is just so much gentler, and you know what? It gets you the exact same result. So the key here is to build some new habits. And these phrases right here, these are your new best friends. Seriously, starting any request with "could you" or "would you mind" instantly, and I mean instantly, softens your tone. It shifts the whole thing from an order to a question, and they work in pretty much any situation you can think of. And to make it even easier, here's a simple 3-step formula. First, always kick it off with one of those question phrases. Second, if it's not a 5-alarm fire, add a little timing phrase like, "when you have a moment." It just shows that you respect their time. And third, and this is a big one, remember that your tone of voice is just as important as the words you choose. All right, now for something a little bit trickier: disagreeing or pointing at a mistake. This is where politeness is absolutely essential, because the goal is to correct the information without ever criticizing the person. What I think is so fascinating here is the shift in focus. "You're wrong" is like a direct accusation. It immediately puts someone on the defensive. But when you say something like, "I think there may be a mistake," you take the focus off the person and you put it on the problem itself. It's like an invitation to solve it together. This table is basically your cheat sheet for disagreements. Just notice how each of these alternatives works. Kicking off with a gentle "actually" sounds helpful, not like you're starting a fight. And adding that little bit of humility with "I might be wrong, but" makes your point feel so much more collaborative. Every single one of these protects the relationship while still letting you get your point across. And listen, if there's only one phrase you remember from this whole section, make it this one. Starting with "I see your point, but" is just incredibly powerful. It tells the other person, "Hey, I heard you. I respect what you're saying, and now I'd like to offer a different idea." It is the absolute foundation of respectful disagreement. Okay, next up is a word that makes a lot of people really nervous: no. We often feel like saying no is just inherently rude, but that's not true at all. The real secret is learning how to refuse gracefully and, believe it or not, with confidence. So let's just tackle this head on. Is no a rude word? No, absolutely not. It is a vital, necessary communication tool. The problem isn't the word itself, it's all about the delivery. A blunt no can definitely sting, but a softened, well-delivered no is completely polite and, honestly, necessary sometimes. Here's a little framework to make it easy. First, always start with kindness. A phrase like "I wish I could" or "thank you for thinking of me" really shows you appreciate them asking. Second, state the refusal clearly but gently. And third, if it feels right, offer a brief, simple reason. You don't owe anyone a long story, just enough to show it's not personal. And here are a few more really powerful tools for your toolkit. Starting with "unfortunately" adds instant empathy. But the real game changer here is offering an alternative. All of a sudden, you're not just refusing, you're being a problem solver. You're still saying no to the original thing, but you're saying yes to being helpful. So we've looked at asking, we've looked at disagreeing, we've looked at refusing. But what is the real goal in all of this? It's not just about memorizing a bunch of phrases. There's a much bigger, more important idea connecting everything we've talked about. And here it is. This is probably the most important takeaway of all. Politeness is not weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. You can still be direct, you can be confident, and you can be crystal clear. Just think of it as a form of emotional intelligence. It's a way to show respect that ultimately builds stronger, much more positive relationships. And this right here? This is the ultimate benefit. When you communicate with respect, it completely changes how people respond to you. They become more open, they trust you more, they're more willing to collaborate with you. This is a huge part of what it means to be truly fluent. It's not just about grammar, it's about genuine connection. So I'm going to leave you with a little challenge. Just think about your day tomorrow. What's one specific conversation, at work, at home, with a friend, where you can try out just one of these techniques? Because this skill isn't built overnight. It's built one polite phrase at a time.